The massive alien ship hovered above the United Nations headquarters in New York. It was humanity's big day. After years of scanning the skies, aliens had finally answered Earth's signals. Commander John Miller stood tall in his crisp uniform, trying to hide his nervousness. As head of security for this historic meeting, he had to make sure everything went perfectly. "They're coming down now," said Marie Davis, who stood beside him. Marie was the best language expert on Earth. She had spent weeks studying the strange sounds the aliens sent in their messages. The ship's bottom opened, and a beam of blue light touched the ground. 5 creatures stepped out of the light. They looked almost like tall, thin humans, but with skin that shimmered like fish scales. Their eyes were large and completely black. The UN secretary walked forward with open arms. "Welcome to Earth. We are honored to meet you." Marie moved closer to translate, but then stopped. The lead alien was making clicking sounds that didn't match anything from their earlier messages. John felt something was wrong. The aliens' hands moved to devices on their belts. "Everyone get down," John shouted, but it was too late. Beams of red light shot from the aliens' weapons. The secretary fell first, then the diplomats behind him. People screamed and ran. John pulled Marie behind a concrete barrier as more beams cut through the air. "What's happening?" she gasped. "It's an attack," John said, drawing his gun. He knew it would do little against their advanced weapons, but he had to try. He fired 3 shots. One hit an alien in the shoulder. The creature barely flinched. Within minutes, it was over. 27 humans dead. The aliens returned to their ship without taking anything or anyone. The next day, a message came from the ship. The aliens, who called themselves the Xelnar, claimed there had been a cultural misunderstanding. They said that on their world, showing weapons was a sign of respect. They hadn't meant to harm anyone. Marie didn't believe it. Working day and night in a secure room beneath the Pentagon, she studied recordings of the attack. The aliens had spoken to each other during the shooting. Their words didn't match their story. On the 3rd day, she called John to her office. "I figured it out," she said, her face pale from lack of sleep. They weren't speaking the same language they used in their messages. They switched to what must be their real language. "And?" John asked. And they were laughing. "They called us dirt creatures and easy targets." Marie played a recording and pointed to her translation on the screen. "But that's not the worst part. Look at this." She showed him another message that Earth's satellites had caught being sent from the alien ship to somewhere deep in space. Phase 1 complete. The primates reacted as expected. Minimal resistance. Report to Galactic Council. Earth suitable for immediate harvest. Native species shows no significant defense capability. John's hands tightened into fists. "They're planning to invade." "Yes, but they're not alone. This Galactic Council must have sent them to test us." Marie closed her eyes for a moment. "They're coming back, John. And next time, it won't be 5 of them." Within hours, leaders from every major nation gathered in an emergency meeting. Old enemies sat side by side as they watched Marie's translation. For the first time in human history, all countries agreed on one thing. Earth needed to prepare for war. "We can't fight them directly," said the American president. "Their technology is too advanced." "Then we make them think we've accepted our defeat," said the Russian leader, "while secretly preparing our revenge." John looked around the room at the determined faces. "They think we're primitive and weak. That will be their biggest mistake." The room fell silent as the weight of the situation sank in. Humanity was now in a fight for survival against an enemy that had already decided their fate. But if the aliens thought humans would go quietly, they were about to learn a painful lesson. 5 years passed since the bloody first contact. On the surface, life on Earth seemed to have returned to normal. In Washington, D.C., a large building with strange curved walls and a shimmering blue dome stood as the new Galactic Embassy. Ambassador Zorak of the Xelnar Empire walked its halls, pleased with how easily humans had accepted their place in the galactic order. The humans learned quickly, Zorak said to his assistant. They know they cannot fight the council. What Zorak didn't know was that deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, General Patricia Clark watched his every move. The underground base stretched for miles, hidden from alien sensors by technology reverse-engineered from the Xelner's own ship parts. "Show me the progress on Project Thunderbolt," Patricia ordered. The screen lit up with images of massive shipyards built inside old mine shafts and empty oil fields. Thousands of workers moved like ants around half-built spacecraft that looked nothing like traditional human designs. Frank Weber wiped sweat from his forehead as he studied the alien metal under a special microscope. At 45, he had been a respected physicist before the aliens came. Now he was part of Earth's secret defense team. "Dr. Weber, you need to see this," called Olivia Thompson from across the lab. At just 30, she was already known for solving problems others thought impossible. Frank joined her at the testing chamber. Inside, a small device pulsed with blue energy. "I combined the alien power source with our prototype," Olivia explained. "Watch." She pressed a button. A beam shot across the room and hit a block of the strongest metal on Earth. The block didn't just melt. It seemed to fold in on itself until nothing remained. "It works," Frank whispered. "The quantum disruptor actually works." "Not just works," Olivia smiled. "It's small enough to fit on the ships we're building." In another part of the world, Henry Daniels sat in a small apartment in the alien sector of New Delhi. Before the aliens, he had been a spy for the CIA. Now he worked for all of humanity. "Report," he said quietly into a device that looked like an ordinary watch. "This is Lisa. Ambassador Zorak has visitors from the council," came a woman's voice. "They're discussing something called Phase 2. Lisa Gray had been a college student when the aliens attacked. Now she worked as a cleaner in the alien embassy. The Xelner barely noticed her as she emptied trash cans and mopped floors. They spoke freely around her, never thinking a simple human could understand their language. "Keep listening," Henry said. "We need to know their plans." Across the globe, similar conversations happened in secret. Humanity had spent 5 years appearing weak and accepting while actually preparing for war. The aliens saw what they expected to see, a defeated species, and never looked deeper. In orbit, disguised as communication satellites, small human scouts watched the Xelnar ships come and go. Captain Samuel Lee commanded one such vessel, barely larger than a bus, but packed with new technology. Another council ship arriving, his sensor officer reported, bigger than the last one. "Track it," Samuel ordered. "Record everything." The gathered information flowed back to General Clark's command center. Each day, the picture became clearer. The Galactic Council wasn't just visiting. They were preparing for something big. In her private office, Patricia Clark looked at photos of the 27 humans killed during first contact. Their faces reminded her of what was at stake. "They think we're cattle," she said to the empty room. "They have no idea what's coming." Outside, Ambassador Zorak gazed at the Earth's blue sky, thinking how simple it had been to establish control over these primitives. Soon the Council would begin the harvesting process, and Earth would become just another resource-depleted world in their vast empire. He had no idea that beneath his feet, within mountains and oceans and deserts, humanity was ready to show the galaxy why you should never underestimate a species that had survived by outthinking predators for its entire existence. Ambassador Zorak stood at the window of his private chamber, looking out at the Washington Monument in the distance. The message he had just received from the Galactic Council made him smile. After 5 years of observation, the Council had decided Earth was ready for the next step. "Send in my advisory team," he ordered. 4 Xelnar officials entered the room and bowed. Zorak played the message from the Council for them to hear. "The human planet has been deemed suitable for full colonization," said the cold voice of Council leader Draxel. "Begin preparation for population reduction. Standard procedure: sterilize 60%, preserve the rest for labor resources." The aliens nodded in agreement. None questioned the order. The Council had done this to hundreds of worlds before. "We will begin by introducing the sterilization agent into their water systems," said the Chief Medical Officer. "They will never detect it. Their science is too primitive." In the ventilation duct above them, Lisa Gray held her breath. She had been replacing air filters when the meeting began. Now she lay perfectly still, recording every word with the tiny device hidden in her work badge. "How soon can we begin?" Zorak asked. "The agent is already being produced at our medical facility in Brazil," replied the medical officer. "Distribution can begin in 3 weeks." Lisa's heart pounded so hard she feared the aliens might hear it. This was what Earth's defense leaders had suspected all along. The peaceful Galactic Council never intended to share the galaxy. They wanted Earth's resources and viewed humans as little more than animals. When the meeting ended and the room emptied, Lisa crawled through the ducts to her exit point in a storage closet. Her hand shook as she sent an encrypted message to Henry Daniels. "Eagle has shown its claws." Repeat, "Eagle has shown its claws." This was the code for confirmation that extermination plans existed. 3 hours later, in the underground command center, General Patricia Clark watched Lisa's recording for the 3rd time. The room was silent except for the sound of alien voices discussing the end of humanity. "They're going to sterilize most of us," she finally said. "Just like that. Like we're animals to be managed." "We expected this," Henry Daniels reminded her. "This is why we've been preparing." Patricia nodded. "How widespread is their network?" "We've identified 12 distribution facilities disguised as water treatment plants," Henry replied, bringing up a map on the main screen. Red dots appeared across 6 continents. "They've been building them for years while telling us they were gifts to improve our water quality." Frank Weber and Olivia Thompson entered the room, carrying data tablets. "We've analyzed their sterilization agent," Olivia said. "It's advanced but not undetectable. We can create a neutralizing compound and quietly add it to water supplies once they begin." "That's not enough," Patricia said firmly. "We've waited and watched for 5 years, built our strength while pretending to be weak. If we just stop their plan, they'll make another. It's time for Operation Silent Strike." Faces around the room grew serious. They had hoped this day would never come, but had prepared for it nonetheless. "Are the ships ready?" Patricia asked Samuel Lee, who had joined the meeting via secure video. 15 vessels, fully armed with quantum disruptors. Crews trained and ready," he replied. "We can launch within 48 hours." Patricia looked at each face in the room. These people represented humanity's best hope. For 5 years, they had lived double lives, working in secret while the world went about its business unaware of the true danger. "The Council thinks they're dealing with sheep," she said. "It's time to show them the wolves underneath. Send the authorization codes. Operation Silent Strike begins now." Across the globe, hidden facilities buzzed with sudden activity. Disguised ships that aliens had dismissed as harmless satellites began powering up advanced engines. Earth's defenders moved into position, ready to take the fight directly to the Galactic Council. In his embassy, Ambassador Zorak continued planning humanity's downfall, completely unaware that his own destruction was already in motion. The humans he thought were conquered had been planning their vicious revenge all along. The Earth ship Defiance looked nothing like a warship. From the outside, it appeared to be a standard supply vessel that might carry food or building materials between alien outposts. This was exactly what Captain Samuel Lee wanted. "Status report," Samuel said as he settled into the command chair. "All systems ready, Captain," replied his second in command. "Quantum disruptors are online but dormant. Power signatures masked." Samuel nodded. Around him, 30 crew members worked at their stations. All had trained for this moment for years. They knew what was at stake. "The other ships are in position," reported the communications officer, "waiting for your signal." Earth had built 15 ships like the Defiance, each disguised as harmless transport vessels. They had been launched slowly, one by one, over the past year, posing as human-built cargo ships serving alien bases. No one in the Galactic Council suspected that these simple-looking vessels carried weapons that could destroy entire space stations. "Begin approach to Outpost 7, Samuel ordered. On the main screen, a massive space station came into view. Shaped like a giant wheel with spikes coming out from its center, it served as one of the main military hubs for the Council in this part of space. "We're being hailed," said the communications officer. "Standard response," Samuel replied calmly. The officer sent the pre-approved message. "Transport vessel ETS-5 requesting permission to dock, carrying maintenance supplies for Level 3. After a brief pause, the station responded. "Permission granted. Proceed to Dock 14. Samuel smiled slightly. The Council forces never bothered to check too carefully. Why would they? Humans were just simple servants now, running errands for their galactic masters. As they approached the dock, Samuel opened a secure channel to the other Earth ships spread across Council space. "All vessels, this is Defiance. Operation Silent Strike is go. I repeat, Operation Silent Strike is go." The Defiance docked smoothly. Station workers, mostly aliens from various Council species, barely looked at the ship as it connected to the station. "Quantum disruptor targeting complete," reported the weapons officer. "Target locked on station power core." Samuel took a deep breath. "Begin countdown. 3 minutes. Notify all ships to synchronize their strikes." Across Council space, 14 other captains received the message and began their own countdowns. Each targeted a vital Council facility, military bases, shipyards, and command centers. All would strike at exactly the same moment. In the command center on Earth, General Patricia Clark watched 15 countdown timers on the main screen. For years, they had gathered intelligence, located the most important targets, and positioned their ships. Now the future of humanity depended on this coordinated attack. 1 minute remaining, announced the operations officer beside her. Patricia thought about all the risks they had taken. If even one ship had been discovered, if any Council species had realized what humans were planning, the entire operation would have failed. But humans had used the Council's own arrogance against them. The aliens never suspected that the primitive species they planned to sterilize had already mastered their technology. 30 seconds. On the Defiance, Samuel stood up from his chair. "All personnel, secure for immediate departure after weapon discharge." His crew fastened special harnesses designed to protect them from the sudden acceleration that would follow. The ship would need to get away from the station quickly once they fired. 10 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Fire. The quantum disruptor made almost no sound when it activated. There was just a slight vibration through the ship's hull. But on the station, alarms immediately began blaring. "Disruptor strike successful," reported the weapons officer. "Station power core destabilizing." "Disengage and go to full speed," Samuel ordered. The Defiance pulled away from the doomed station, just as explosions began to ripple across its surface. Similar scenes played out at 14 other locations across Council space. In minutes, the most important military and command facilities of the Galactic Council were destroyed or severely damaged. Thousands of messages flooded Council communication channels, all reporting the same thing. The humans had attacked without warning, using weapons the Council didn't even know they possessed. The Council, which had ruled the galaxy for millennia, had just received its first real shock, and Earth was only getting started. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council had never been so chaotic. Located on the artificial planet Xanthus at the center of Council space, the massive circular room usually hosted calm, organized meetings where Council members decided the fate of star systems with cool detachment. Today, panic filled the air. Council Chairperson Draxol, a tall being with gray skin and 4 arms, struggled to maintain order. Representatives from 36 species shouted over each other as emergency reports continued to arrive on their data screens. Silence. Draxol finally roared, his voice amplified by the chamber's special acoustics. "We must respond with logic, not emotion." The room quieted, but fear remained visible on the faces of the council members. "How is this possible?" asked the representative from the Morbid Confederation, a species of slug-like creatures known for their caution. "Humans are a primitive species. They do not possess interstellar travel technology." "Clearly, they do," replied Draxul. "And weapons we have never seen before. 15 of our most important facilities destroyed simultaneously. 4,000 council personnel dead." On the giant screen at the center of the chamber, images of destruction played in a continuous loop. Space stations torn apart, shipyards in flames, command centers reduced to floating debris. "Could it be another species using humans as a cover?" suggested the Vortal representative, unwilling to accept that humans could be responsible. "No," Draxul said firmly. "Our agents on Earth report that their embassy has been surrounded by human military forces. Ambassador Zorak is being detained for questioning." In the embassy on Earth, Ambassador Zorak sat in what had been his grand office. Now it was his prison. Armed human guards stood at every door. General Patricia Clark sat across from him, her face showing no emotion. "I don't understand," Zorak said. "We had an agreement. Earth accepted its place in the council order." "We never accepted anything," Patricia replied coldly. "We only made you think we did. While you planned to sterilize our people, we prepared our response." She placed a small device on the table between them. It projected an image of the destruction of Outpost 7, the largest council military base in Earth's sector of space. "Impossible," Zorak whispered, his scales losing their color. "Your species cannot have built such weapons." "Yet here we are," Patricia said. "Your council made a serious mistake, Ambassador. You judged us by our technology when you arrived, not by our potential. You never considered what we might accomplish when our survival was at stake." Back in the council chamber, the debate had turned to response options. "We must assemble the combined fleet," insisted the military representative, a reptilian being called Kex. "Crush this human rebellion immediately." "Our combined fleet will take 14 days to assemble," Draxul pointed out. "The humans have proven they can strike anywhere in council space. We don't know how many ships they have or what other weapons they might possess." "They are just humans," Kex shouted. "One primitive species against the combined might of 36 advanced civilizations." A new alert sounded throughout the chamber. The central screen changed to show a human woman in a formal suit standing before a blue background. "This is President Nancy Foster of Earth," she said in a calm voice that somehow felt more threatening than any shout. "I addressed the Galactic Council directly. Today we have demonstrated a fraction of our capability. The Council's plans to sterilize our population have been discovered. Your ambassador has confirmed these plans." The council members looked at each other in shock. How had the humans learned about the sterilization plan? "Earth now presents its terms," President Foster continued. "First, immediate recognition of human sovereignty. Second, reparations for the 27 lives taken during first contact. Third, those responsible for planning our genocide will stand trial." Draxul's 4 hands gripped his podium tightly. In thousands of years of council history, no species had ever dared to make demands of them. Yet these humans, who 5 years ago hadn't even left their own solar system, now threatened the entire council. "You have 24 hours to respond," President Foster said. "Choose wisely." The screen went black, leaving the council chamber in stunned silence. 20 hours had passed since President Foster delivered Earth's terms to the Galactic Council. In the White House Situation Room, she sat at the head of a long table surrounded by military leaders and civilian advisors. The large screen on the wall showed 15 small dots moving through space, Earth's fleet, now positioned strategically throughout Council territory. "What's the Council's response so far?" Foster asked. "They're arguing among themselves," replied Henry Daniels. His network of spies had managed to place listening devices in the Council chamber weeks before the attack. "Some want to negotiate. Others are pushing for immediate military action. Can they reach us with their remaining forces? Asked General Patricia Clark. Not quickly, Samuel Lee answered from the screen. He had returned to Earth orbit after the successful strike. We destroyed their nearest staging areas. It would take them at least 2 weeks to gather enough ships for an attack on Earth. President Foster nodded. This was exactly what they had planned for, to buy Earth time while keeping pressure on the Council. And our secret weapon? She asked quietly. Frank Weber stepped forward. The scientist looked tired but proud. Fully operational, Madam President. All devices are in place. In the Council chamber on Xanthus, the debate had grown increasingly heated. The military faction, led by Commander Kex, pounded the table with scaled fists. We cannot show weakness. We must crush these humans immediately. With what ships? Countered a calmer voice. It belonged to senior diplomat Vala, from a species known for their logical approach. Our nearest fleets are scattered. The humans have proven they can strike anywhere in our territory. We need time to regroup. Council Chairperson Draxel listened to both sides, his 4 hands clasped tightly together. In thousands of years of Council history, no species had ever dared to attack them like this. The humans had changed everything in a single day. The sterilization plan was a mistake, Vala continued. We underestimated these humans. Perhaps we should consider their terms. Never, shouted Kex. No primitive species dictates terms to the Council. I vote we assemble all available ships and attack Earth immediately. The chamber erupted in shouts of agreement and disagreement. Draxel raised all 4 arms for silence. We will vote, he announced. Those in favor of immediate military action. Nearly 2/3 of the Council members raised their hands or appendages. Those in favor of negotiation. The remaining third indicated their support. The Council has decided, Draxel declared. We will launch an immediate attack on Earth with all available forces. The humans must learn their place. Back on Earth, Henry Daniels received the transmission from his spies. They'd voted for war, Madam President. They're mobilizing all available ships. President Foster showed no surprise. Just as we expected. They're too proud to accept that the balance of power has shifted. She turned to General Clark. Initiate Phase 2. General Clark opened a secure channel to all Earth ships. This is General Clark. The Council has rejected our terms. Activate all planted devices. Authorization code. Prometheus. Throughout Council space, in the shadows of government buildings, military bases, and even on Council member homeworlds, small devices that had been planted by Earth's spy network over the past 5 years suddenly activated. Each one contained a miniature quantum disruptor, similar to those used in the first attack, but designed for a different purpose. On the main Council planet of Xanthus, a maintenance worker named Jerry Brown, actually one of Henry's deep cover agents, received the activation code. He slipped away from his assigned duties and made his way to an isolated maintenance tunnel. There, hidden behind a ventilation panel, sat a small black box with a blinking green light. Jerry pressed his thumb against the scanner. The light turned red. Similar scenes played out on 27 other worlds. Council security forces had never bothered to thoroughly screen the primitive humans who cleaned their buildings and maintained their systems. This oversight would now cost them dearly. In the Council chamber, an aide rushed to Draxel's side, whispering urgently in his ear. The chairperson's gray skin paled visibly. What is it? Demanded Commander Kex. We've just detected unknown energy signatures, Draxel said, his voice shaking. On every Council homeworld. The humans have somehow planted weapons on all our planets. Panic spread through the Council chamber as reports confirmed the presence of unknown devices on every major Council world. Security teams rushed to find and disable them, but the devices were well hidden and protected by technology the Council had never seen before. How did they do this? Demanded Commander Kex, his reptilian features twisted with rage. How could primitive humans plant weapons on our most secure worlds? "The same way I'm hearing this conversation right now," Henry Daniels whispered to himself as he listened from Earth. His network of spies had spent years placing both listening devices and quantum disruptors throughout Council space. Council Chairperson Draxel tried to maintain calm. "We need to evacuate our population centers until these devices can be located and disabled." "That could take weeks," shouted a council member. "We have billions of citizens." On the screens around the chamber, images appeared showing the strange devices discovered so far. Each was small, about the size of a human hand, but scans showed they contained enormous power. "The humans are contacting us again," announced a communications officer. President Foster's face appeared on the main screen, her expression calm but firm. "The Council has not responded to our terms within the time provided. To demonstrate that our demands are not negotiable, we will now provide a demonstration of our capabilities." Foster nodded to someone off-screen. "General Clark, you may proceed." In the White House Situation Room, General Patricia Clark opened a secure line. "Captain Lee, execute demonstration protocol. Single target only. Aboard the Earth ship Defiance, now positioned near a small uninhabited moon in the Xanthus system." Captain Samuel Lee acknowledged the order. "Yes, General. Targeting the moon TK-421 now." His weapons officer aimed the ship's most powerful quantum disruptor at the barren moon, which was visible from the Council's planet. "Target locked." "Fire," Samuel ordered quietly. A beam of energy, almost invisible except for a slight blue shimmer, shot from the Defiance toward the moon. When it struck, there was no explosion. Instead, the surface of the moon seemed to ripple like water. Then, slowly at first, but with increasing speed, the entire moon began to collapse inward. In the council chamber, the representatives watched in horrified silence as the moon on their screens condensed into a smaller and smaller point of light. "What's happening?" whispered Draxel. The council's chief scientist, who had been analyzing the readings, looked up with terror in her eyes. "They've created a localized gravitational singularity. A black hole. They've turned the moon into a black hole." Complete silence fell over the council chamber as the implications became clear. The humans possessed weapons that could transform entire worlds into black holes, and they had these devices planted on every council homeworld. "The quantum disruptors we've placed on your planets are similar to the one you just witnessed," President Foster explained from the screen. "Each can create a controlled singularity that would consume your worlds from the inside out." Commander Kex, who had been the most vocal supporter of attacking Earth, sank back into his seat. For the first time in his military career, he faced an enemy he could not defeat through force. "You would destroy our entire civilization?" Draxel asked, his voice barely audible. "We prefer not to," Foster replied. "We are not genocidal, unlike the Council. We simply want what we demanded: recognition of our sovereignty, reparations for our dead, and justice for those who plan to exterminate us." She paused, letting her words sink in. "You have 1 hour to reconsider your decision. Choose peace or face extinction. The choice is yours." The screen went dark. In reality, Earth's ships couldn't actually create true black holes. The demonstration had used a carefully planned strike on the moon's unstable core combined with special effects to make it appear as if the moon had collapsed into a singularity. But the Council didn't know this. Their sensors confirmed something that seemed impossible. A moon had vanished, apparently consumed by a controlled black hole. Back on Earth, President Foster turned to her advisors. "Do you think they'll believe it?" Frank Weber nodded. "Their science is advanced, but the effect was convincing. They can't take the risk that we're bluffing." General Clark agreed. "Fear is a powerful motivator. They've never faced a threat like this before. And now they have to decide if their pride is worth the extinction of their species," Henry Daniels added. The countdown began. 1 hour for the Council to decide the fate of their civilization. The Council chamber had never been so quiet. 36 species, all with different biologies and cultures, sat in perfect stillness as they considered the choice before them: accept human terms or face destruction. With just 5 minutes remaining in the 1-hour deadline, Council Chairperson Draxel finally spoke. We must vote. Those in favor of accepting the human terms. One by one, hands and appendages rose. Even Commander Kex, who had been the strongest voice for military action, reluctantly raised his scaled hand. The vote was unanimous. Contact the humans, Draxel ordered. Tell them we accept their terms. On Earth, President Foster received the message with a calm nod. She had gambled the future of humanity on the Council's fear, and the gamble had paid off. The Council accepts all our terms, she announced to the gathered leaders in the Situation Room. They will recognize Earth's sovereignty, pay reparations, and allow trials for those responsible for planning our genocide. There were no cheers or celebrations. The people in that room knew how close they had come to destruction. If the Council had called their bluff, if they had realized that Earth couldn't really turn planets into black holes, the outcome might have been very different. 2 months later, the Council chamber looked very different. Human delegates sat alongside representatives from other species. Earth had not only gained a seat at the table, but had fundamentally changed how the Council operated. The trial of former Ambassador Zorak and his co-conspirators has concluded, announced Draxel. They have been found guilty of planning genocide against a sentient species and sentenced accordingly. Mary Davis, now serving as Earth's ambassador to the Council, nodded in satisfaction. The translator who had first discovered the Council's true intentions during first contact had insisted on being present when justice was served. Earth has one more announcement, Marie said, rising to address the chamber. We wish to form a new alliance, one based on mutual respect rather than domination. Several Council species have already expressed interest in joining. This caused a stir in the chamber. The idea of an alternative to the Council was shocking to many. You would break the unity of our galactic community, asked Draxel. The Council was never truly unified, Marie replied. It was ruled by fear. Our alliance will be built on cooperation and equality. Any species that wishes to join is welcome. Over the next few weeks, 12 species announced their intention to leave the Council and join Earth's new interstellar alliance. Most were species that had themselves faced discrimination or threats from the Council in the past. In his office at Earth Defense Command, John Miller, now Admiral Miller, looked out at the stars. 5 years earlier, he had watched aliens massacre humans during what should have been a peaceful first contact. Now, he commanded a fleet that had brought the mighty Galactic Council to its knees. Quite a change, isn't it? Asked Marie Davis, who had come to visit her old friend. They never understood us, John said. They looked at our technology and decided we were primitive. They never considered our history, how quickly humans adapt, how fiercely we fight when threatened. The quantum disruptor bluff was brilliant, Murray commented. Frank and Olivia created a convincing show. John nodded. Sometimes the appearance of power is more effective than power itself. But now we need to build something real from our victory. On planets across the galaxy, the story spread of how Earth, a world that had barely achieved spaceflight, had brought the ancient Galactic Council to its knees through cunning and determination. Some told it with fear, others with admiration, but all acknowledged that a new power had emerged among the stars. In the Council chamber, a new plaque was installed beside the entrance, written in several languages including Earth English. It contained just one line, a warning to any who might again underestimate a seemingly primitive species. Judge not by the technology, but by the spirit that wields it. The Council had learned its lesson. Earth had taken its revenge, and the galaxy would never be the same again.